What's up, guys? Today I want to talk about Spider-Man 2 and a serious issue that I see. Because I think enough time has passed where we can talk about Spider-Man 2, and I believe that the vast majority of people who play the game, they view it as a bit underwhelming. Me personally, I view it as aggressively mid, borderline trash. And I say trash because I know that may trigger a lot of people, but I say trash not because of the bugs, not because of the story, not because of any elements or themes in the game, but because of what Insomniac can do. It's tantamount of you coming home with a C on a test and your parents know that you're an A and B student. They are gonna be disappointed. Not that C, is the end all be all, but they know that you can do better. And that's how I feel when it comes to Spider-Man 2, that I know Insomniac can do better. But the issue that I would argue, it's not Insomniac games. It's not even Sony, because I see people trying to blame Sony. Oh, Sony didn't give enough time. No. The issue, I would say, is the fans. That is correct. I would argue that Insomniac games and Spider-Man are victims of toxic positivity. And what that means is essentially there are people out there that any type of feedback, any type of criticism, any type of flaws or errors that people may see in the game is suppressed. They're viewed and ostracized and, oh, you're just a hater, you just want to complain. These type of people are destroying Spider-Man. That is what's happening currently. Because if you think about it, when it came to Spider-Man 1, we saw the demo, everyone was excited. But many of us had concerns. We were like, hey, the web swinging speed is way too slow. This is way too slow, you gotta speed it up. What do? Insomniac is pretty good with, implementing fan feedback. They're pretty good with constructive criticism regarding the game. What do? They sped it up. When it came to tricks, right? Fans were like, hey, we want some tricks in the game. Do you understand that prior fan feedback for tricks, there was not gonna be tricks in the game? You do understand it, that they implemented tricks, I believe a few months out from launch. That's why the tricks are a little bit funky, okay? So I want you to think about that. We would not have tricks had it not been for fan feedback. And we see how tricks have been a great part of the system thus far, whether it's Miles, whether it's even Spider-Man 2 seeing some of the tricks. They've actually expanded it. So that was due to fan feedback. Obviously, when it came to the Raimi suit, the God suit, it was because of me and the Raimi army that we got the Raimi suit. All of these things were due to fan criticism, were due to fans not being fully, happy with what they saw, but they gave constructive criticism towards the game. As time has gone on, there have been a group of people who want to eradicate any type of criticism, any type of feedback, any type of issues that people may have with the game. For example, there are people out there that are giving feedback to web swinging. Hey, it's not really web swinging, it just makes you feel like web swinging. When it comes to, some of the physics aren't there in previous titles as it was. And I think I've seen some of these videos and I think they're good. I'll do a video on the web swinging in Spider-Man 2 because I think it's absolutely trash when in comparison to what Insomniac can do and what other games can do. But what you have is that you have these toxic positive people who go and try to rebut everything. I'm gonna rebut this, I'm gonna refute that, I'm gonna rebut this, I'm gonna show you that that's not true, that the game is awesome, that la la la. And I think that's a fundamental flaw of toxic positive fans. Because of Insomniac Games, as a developer, anyone who's created games, anybody who's been in that environment, you're always trying to aim for bigger and better. And for a company who's looking at player feedback, player constructive feedback in regards to where they can improve as far as what the fans want, because we're the ones that are gonna buy the game. Do you understand that? We're the ones that are gonna buy that. We're gonna spend $80 on a game. So yes, you want to have what you want in the game, if it's feasible. So you have these people who are looking to eradicate that. And what we get Spider-Man 2, okay? A mid, unfinished heap of a mess in many cases. It's a shell of what it could actually have been. And I would argue that is due to these toxic fans. When it comes to combat, people are complaining about combat. Like, hey, combat isn't really there. Combat needs to evolve to be bigger and greater, and they really didn't do anything. What they, honed in on Spider-Man 1 with the gadgets, I wasn't a big fan of the gadgets, but hey, this is Insomniac. This is their version of Spider-Man. I can accept that. And their version of Spider-Man uses a whole bunch of gadgets. They completely removed the gadgets in Spider-Man 2. They removed the system that was made really Miles Morales great when it comes to building up your meter and everything. And they kind of crippled the characters in many extent. But then you have people out there like, oh, this is how you should play the combat. This is what masterful combat looks like. Oh, this is what 100 hours combat looks like. This is the greatest combat ever. And you look at some of the footage, and the footage is just a bunch of, swing cancels, right? It's a bunch of cancels of animations in order to try and make the game fun. That's the problem. The problem is with a lot of these people, they're trying to make the game fun instead of the game naturally being fun. And that is a big issue. You shouldn't have to do a bunch of dumb swing cancels which don't do anything. You're not rewarded for it. It's just you doing absolutely nothing. Now, people may find that fun, and if you find that fun, by all means. But that's night and day from, like, let's say a Devil May Cry, where you're rewarded in implementing a whole bunch of setups and being creative and innovative with your gameplay and how you destroy the enemy. Now, you may enjoy that, and that's cool for you, but I would argue for the majority of us, that's not what we want. Many of us have ideas that can be implemented in the game. I've talked about certain, as far as mechanics that are already in the game, that they've gone underused, they've gone underutilized. So instead of giving us more Mary Jane missions, you should have been focusing on how do you make Spider-Man more fun? How do you make Miles more fun? How do you make Venom more fun? But I get it, they have their priorities, okay? And that's on them.
But yeah, she's OP, she's probably OP, I don't care.
But there's a litany of things that could have been done that I think took a back seat. And I would argue it's due to the toxic positive fans out there who see everything as positive. If you give any type of negative feedback, anything that you view as a flaw, there's gonna be someone who's like, I'm gonna refute that. That's not a flaw. You're just dumb. You just don't know how to play the game. It's great. It's awesome. It's perfect. And these people are a problem, because if we had these people with the first game, we wouldn't have gotten faster web swinging. We wouldn't have gotten fall damage. Y'all remember fall damage? I was like, hey, why isn't there not fall damage? And you wanna know what these toxic fans said, these toxic positive fans said? Well, he's been web swinging for 8 years. Why would he have fall damage? And it's a fallacious means of logic, right? Of reasoning, where they can just justify anything. We finally get fall damage, and then they're like, oh, this is great, this is awesome. People are talking about, hey, we need a more advanced web swinging system. I mean, this was done in Spider-Man 2 of the PS2, which I think is the best Spider-Man game, bar none. But they already had something like this years ago. What happens now? They have a slider. The slider it's brain dead slider, but it's something. It's moving in the right direction. But what do fans scream about? The same people who are upset that people were asking for such a mechanic are now praising it. Oh, look at me. I'm web swinging at, zero swing assistance. Okay, I'm web swinging at zero swing assistance. Look how good I am. And it's like, wait, you're using the mechanic that you were just crying about, that fans were asking for? Now you think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread? I would argue when it comes to Insomniac, and hopefully it doesn't happen with Wolverine, but there is a lot of toxic positivity that's directed towards this, towards the company, and especially due to them having such a sensitive IP as Spider-Man. And I think a lot of these people need to go the way of the dinosaur, because what they're ultimately doing is hurting the game. They are hurting the game that they allege to say that they love so much. They're hurting the IP, Spider-Man, that they allege to say that they care so much about. That is the problem. You have got to allow these companies to grow. You've got to allow them to innovate. You've got to allow them to expand. And if fans can push them in that direction, then so be it. That is not a bad thing. You don't need to constantly shill for a multi-million-dollar corporation. That's what you don't have to do, okay? Insomniac, Brian Nittenhard, none of them are going to screw you. So calm down. Nevertheless, that's my take on the situation. There's more to come. But if you enjoy the video, please feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, guys, keep animating.